Welcome to the video on Lycidas by John Milton. This video covers session 6. Lycidas by John Milton, a pastoral elegy. When we speak of Milton, we have to speak about the epic poetry or heroic poetry because he is the only poet in English to complete an epic poem. That too when he was totally blind. Other writers like Spencer, Wordsworth, Keats tried to write an epic poem, but they could not complete. Now, what is an epic poem or heroic poem? The definition of epic poem, according to M.H. Abraham, is epic poem is a long verse narrative on a serious subject. An epic poem is a long poem, for example, Milton's Paradise Lost. It is written in many books in thousands of lines. In India, we have Mahabharata, which is called the longest epic poem in the world. It is written in more than 1 lakh quatrains and is divided into many parvas. The language used in the epic poem is sublime, told in a formal, elevated style and centered on a heroic or quasi-divine figure on whose actions depends the fate of a tribe, a nation, or in the case of Milton's Paradise Lost, the human race. Kinds of epics. There are two kinds of epics. First one, the traditional epics. They are also called folk epics or primary epics. And the second one is literary epics. The traditional epics were written version of what had originally been oral poems about a tribal or national hero during the warlike age. Examples for this kind of epics are Gilgamesh, the Sumerian epic around 3000 BC, is the earliest extant work in the oral tradition. Next come Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, the Anglo-Saxon Beowulf, the French Chanson de la Rolande, and the Spanish Poema del Cid in the 20th century, and the 13th century German poem in epic genre, Nibelung and Lied. The literary epics were composed by individual poets in deliberate imitation of the traditional forms. Virgil's Latin poem Aeneid, which later served as the chief model for Milton's literary epic Paradise Lost, which in turn became the model for Keats' fragmentary epic Hyperion and poems of William Blake. There are many features of epic poem or heroic poem. The first one, the hero of the epic poem is a figure of great national importance, even cosmic importance. In Iliad, he is the Greek warrior Achilles, who is the son of sea nymph Thetis. In Virgil's Aeneas, he is the son of goddess Aphrodite. In Paradise Lost, Adam and Eve are the progenitors of the entire human race. Or if we take Christ as hero, he is both God and man. In Blake, primal figure is universal man. The second feature is the setting of the poem is ample in scale and it may be worldwide or even larger. Odysseus wanders over Mediterranean basin and descends to the underworld. The scope of the Paradise Lost is the entire universe as action takes place in the heaven, hell, and the earth and the cosmic space in between. The third feature is the action of the poem involves extraordinary deeds in the battle. Achilles feats in the Trojan War, wandering of Odysseus on his way back to homeland, Satan's long journey to the newly created world by God in an attempt to outwit God by correcting humankind, which was foiled by the sacrificial deed of Christ. The fourth feature of an epic poem or heroic poem is in these great actions, gods and other supernatural creatures take an interest or play an active role. The Olympian gods in Homer, Jehovah Christ and angels in Paradise Lost, the supernatural creatures which were an integral part of epic are called machinery in the neoclassic age. The fifth feature is an epic poem is a ceremonial performance and it is narrated in a ceremonial style, deliberately distancing from ordinary speech of common folk. The figurative language is extensively used to make it sublime. Hence, Milton's grand style is in formal diction, elaborate stylized syntax. These are modern and Latin poetry. The sixth feature is the hero of the epic poem is a figure of great national importance or even cosmic importance. There are many conventions of epic poetry. The first convention is the narrator begins by stating epic theme, invokes the guiding spirit or muse to inspire him in his great undertaking. Then he addresses to the muse the epic question, the answer to which inaugurates the proper narrative of the epic. The second convention is the narrative of the epic begins in medias res or in the middle of the action at a critical moment in the epic. Paradise Lost opens with the fallen angels in hell, gathering their scattered forces and determining on revenge against God. The third convention is there are catalogs of some of the principal characters. These characters given set speeches to reveal their moral attitudes and diverse temperaments. For example, the debate in Pandemonium in the Paradise Lost. The fourth convention is the figurative language is used in the epic poem effectively to give them grand style. Now, prosody. What is prosody? Prosody means the systematic study of versification in poetry, that is, the principle and practice of meter, rhyme, and stanza forms. Prosody can also be used sometimes to study the speech sound patterns and effects such as alliteration, assonance, euphony, and onomatopoeia. Metrical structure of English language. Meter is a prominent feature in the sequence of speech sounds of a language. There are four types of meter in European languages. The first one, in classical Greek and Latin, the meter was quantitative, that is, it was established by the relative duration of the utterance of a syllable and consisted a recurrent pattern of long and short syllables. Second one, in the French and other Roman languages, the meter is syllabic, depending on the number of syllables within the line of the verse, without regard to fall of stresses. Third, meter. In older Germanic languages, including Old English, the meter is accentual, depending on the number of stretched syllables within a line, without regard to number of intervening unstressed syllables. The fourth type of meter is accentual syllabic, in which metric units consist of recurrent pattern of stresses and a recurrent number of syllables. This meter is very prominent in English poetry since the 14th century. This is a brief introduction to epic poetry, which is very necessary to know for literature students. Thank you.